as you heard, Donald Trump has destroyed Ron DeSantis. And the reason why I say Donald Trump has destroyed Ron DeSantis and not Ron DeSantis dropped out of the race is because if you look at the Iowa caucus, it wasn't as simple as, Ron DeSantis just dropping out. It was literally Ron DeSantis got destroyed by Donald Trump.
Before we begin, I'd like to take time to congratulate Ron DeSantis and, of course, a really terrific person who I've gotten to know, his wife Casey, for having run a great campaign for president. He did. He ran a really good campaign, I will tell you. It's not easy. They think it's easy doing this stuff, right? It's not easy. But as you know, he left the campaign trail today at 3 p.m., and in so doing, he was very gracious, and he endorsed me, so I appreciate it.
Donald Trump has eclipsed Ron DeSantis, who was seen as kind of the person that could maybe stand up to him. And at this point, he's up like 70 points on Nikki Haley. It's probably going to end like 70-30, and very soon, I expect right after New Hampshire, when she shockingly just gets destroyed in New Hampshire. I say shockingly, sarcastically, of course. I don't think anyone really expects her to do that well. Maybe a little better than in Iowa, but it's going to be like 70-30. She's going to drop out right after, I assume, even with the whole establishment behind her. I want to remind everybody, back in January, DeSantis actually had the lead on Trump. I'm going to be talking about what went wrong, what his cardinal sin was, what DeSantis is going to have to do to maybe overcome other contenders in 2028 if he runs. Going back, a flashback to January 30th. If you go back to January 30th, DeSantis was plus 15 in one of the polls. Okay, that one was a little bit of an exaggeration, admittedly, but if you go to the other ones, up by 4 and a couple others even with Donald Trump. So at this point, you're looking at the polls and you're thinking, Ron DeSantis has what it takes to beat Donald Trump. And this is what I believe Ron DeSantis' cardinal sin was. Flashback to 2022, the midterms. I gotta say this about Donald Trump. If you like Donald Trump, that's fine, whatever, but this is the reality of the situation. He endorsed 21 senators, and which, that's what really matters the most, or at least it's a little easier to measure than, say, congressmen, because there's freaking 430 something of them. But if you look at Senate endorsements, 11 of his Senate endorsements lost and 10 of them won. So a majority lost, and if you look at the 10 that won, they were honestly the ones that were probably going to win anyway. You saw people like J.D. Vance in Ohio, who should have won by a landslide, kind of scraped by with like 5 or 6%, where Ohio traditionally Republicans were winning by a little bit more than that. But in any case, you saw that Donald Trump kind of let the Republican Party down in 2022. And look, you can slice it however way you want. You can say it's not his fault, it was the Republican Party's fault, whatever. All I'm saying is that Donald Trump didn't really do those people any favors, even if it wasn't all on him, okay? I mean, look at Georgia. He's literally lost a Senate, multiple Senate seats in Georgia. But in any case, the cardinal sin of Ron DeSantis was not announcing his candidacy right after 22 when Donald Trump failed and he succeeded. I just want to remind you, if you've forgotten, in 2018, when Ron DeSantis ran for governor, endorsed by Donald Trump, totally true. I know I'm going to get comments from the Donald Trump lovers because this is just what you get for it. But you got to remember in 2018 that he won by about 1%, not even 1%. It was a really tight race, and that's what we expected from Florida, right? Same deal with Donald Trump, for instance, in 2016. He barely won. Awesome, okay? Now, 2022 rolls around, sweeping victories in the Florida House and Senate for Republicans, sweeping victories for the senators, Marco Rubio, up for grabs, and Ron DeSantis goes from a 1% victory in 2018 to a 19.5% victory. That is insane. And me and everybody else was looking at him like, oh my gosh. Like, we hear so much. The DNC is a powerhouse. You don't have to be a Democrat to know that the Democrat Party is very good at what they do. And yeah, they're very corrupt, sure, but man, they know how to do it in a way that Republican Party, the establishment, doesn't even really know how to do. And so to see Ron DeSantis go into Miami and turn it bright red was crazy. And what I'm thinking is, wow, he's the guy who's going to beat Joe Biden hands down. Not only is he going to beat Joe Biden, but he's a unifier because that's what we saw in Florida. And what he should have done is he should have announced his candidacy for presidency right there. And he should have been like, Donald Trump lost 11 of his endorsements, only won 10. Look at this sweeping victory. If he had done that, And obviously there was a few marketing things, a few marketing kinks that he needed to work out. But if he had done that, I believe that that Ron DeSantis had a really good shot at winning the nomination. Sure, he still had a big, I mean, Trump is looked at as an incumbent. I'm not saying that he didn't have a bit of an uphill battle, but I am saying that, man, it would have been much more of a fight, which, after those polls that I cited, Donald Trump ran away with it. If you don't know, DeSantis announced his run for president May 24th. May 24th. Donald Trump announced right after the 2022 election. He had a 6-month jump on Ron DeSantis. I don't understand how you think that you are supposed to beat someone in a race that, and I'm not even talking about like a voting race. I'm talking about like a literal race. If someone just in a race has a 6-month lead on you, you're going to lose. Nothing is different in elections. I think a huge part of Donald Trump, his strategy was being the first in, because he's trying to scare other people, but he's trying to suck all the air out of the room. That's what he does really well. He did it from Ron DeSantis. He literally took Ron DeSantis' amazing Republican victory. Now, and look, I'm going to stick my finger in the camera. If you're a Donald Trump fan, that's fine, but you cannot look at me and tell me that Ron DeSantis wasn't a beast in 2022. If you are, you're a liar. Don't even say it, okay? Because he was. He took 1% and turned it to 19%. That's all you could possibly ask for a Republican if you're a conservative. Ron DeSantis, I actually listened to him speak in Utah. He was at the Utah delegate meeting, the Republican convention on April 22nd. He had not yet announced his run for candidacy. And here's the deal. I personally was interviewing the delegates in Utah, and I was asking, who are you supporting? Who are you supporting? It was like 40-60 in favor of Ron DeSantis, I'm telling you. And look, Utah is not the most Trumpy state, but still, it was like 60-40. People were really excited to hear him. If he had been already announced as a candidate for president, man, that event would have been so much better. But he waited till May 24th. It made no sense. Of course, people will talk about his charisma, and that ultimately was a problem, but it was not the problem. I truly believe the cardinal sin of Ron DeSantis in his campaign was that he didn't just freaking go for it right after he had a sweeping victory. And you can say that people in Florida were going to feel betrayed by that. I think most people in Florida wanted him to be, I think they're looking around, they're like, yeah, we liked him as a governor, we like him as a president. I don't think they're going to feel betrayed by him.